Hi, Victor Vogel with Building Renaissance Leaders. I want to do this brief section on the one thing about communication that is consistent across all the other 12 leadership skills that I teach, what communication patterns are best for those skills. The one communication topic or that I would want you to grasp and learn that is consistent through all 12 of those classes is nonverbal communication. It is literally the most powerful aspect of your communication skill set, yet most people don't pay any attention to it. They don't look for it, and they can't identify it easily, and they can't display it easily because they really don't understand a lot about it. There's a lot more to nonverbal communication than your facial features or your gestures, those things. There's a lot more to it. There's haptics. There's linguistics. There's proxemics. There's chronemics. All of those, and of course the kinesics, which are the facial features and things like that you're looking at, the eyeball contact and everything you're looking at. Now, so why is, I've always wondered for all these years I've taught this, I've always ran a test. And so I'll have 10 people in a team building session. I tell them, take out paper and pencil, write down exactly what I mean when I tell you something. So I'm going to run this test with you. And so, in fact, I was just talk to my doctor about, my eye doctor about the importance of nonverbal communication, how it's associated with optometry, and we were talking about that, and then the lady who measured me for my glasses, I was telling her about it, and we had a very interesting discussion while she was getting my glasses measured for new glasses. And it's interesting because I said, I've done this with probably tens of thousands of employees on small teams over the course of 40 years. Have them the team members take out a piece of paper and a pencil, and this includes the leader. And I said, I'm going to say something, and I want you to pay close attention to me. I don't want you to be writing anything. I just want you first to pay really close attention to me, and then you have 1 second. As soon as I get done, I want you to tell me what I mean. I said, now pay close attention to me, watch me carefully. And so they all, are focused on me intently. And I go, yes, write down what I mean. Now, what did you think I meant? That's one of the answers. But I will tell you, out of all those tens of thousands of people, well over 80% of them said no. And it's because the nonverbal communication, this shaking the head, for some reason has a more impactful image on an individual when I say yes, a direct, incongruent perception on your part. You're hearing me say yes, and you're seeing me say no, and you have to make a choice. And that's what's so powerful about this. This is a binary question choice, and it's really powerful. So what we're saying here is nonverbal communication is so important. And then I just learned recently through neuroscience, specifically a neuroscientist who works out of Stanford, who's in ophthalmology in that area, biology in that area. And it was important because I learned that, for example, the only two organs that are directly attached to your brain are your eyes. And they have a tremendous capability to provide you perception about what you're seeing and what you're looking at. For example, I was telling the lady who was doing my eye prescription, I was I was in Europe, and I had drove over to the port where we take the ferry over to Calais, France, and then I was going to go into Paris over the weekend while I was there in Europe working. I consulted quite a bit in Europe. And when you first come into this port, there's a large parking area, and it's just packed with cars. And from my vision, I can see all of those cars all at once out there. Just a massive amount of cars. And then all of a sudden, there is a red Maserati out there right in front of me. And my eyes just focused in on that car, blurred all those other cars out, but it was focusing on this car. But I could see if this car over here moved or didn't move. Okay, so I could see what was going on in that whole parking lot, but I also had a tremendous narrowed focus view of that red Maserati. That's the power of your perception that your eyes have, that your ears, your taste, your smell, the other senses don't have that same kind of capability. In addition, it's an immediate response to your brain. So it goes into those parts of your brain that are differentiating what's going on, the context that's going on with it. All of that happens in a flash, okay? So this is what's going on. And that then interfaces with your autonomic system, your spinal cord and your nervous system, and that in turn impacts your body. It can increase your heart rate, it can slow your heart rate down, it can make you breathe faster, more shallow, or it can increase your breathing. And so these are things that go on. It impacts your body. You can be more tense or you can be more relaxed depending on what you're seeing, what your vision brings into your life. So nonverbal behavior is critical because that perception is you're so keen to assigning what somebody means to those perceptions. It's instinctive for you to do. The problem is you don't know enough about nonverbal communication most of the time to associate things like gestures or facial features or eye contact or touch or distance from you or things like this that are all impactful on the person whom you're talking to. Now, what's important here is there's a couple of things you want to be able to get out of nonverbal communication. One of those things is you want to be able to make sure that what you say, the words you're saying, are reflected and reinforced by your nonverbal behaviors, okay? So that there's no incongruity between how you're behaving, your physical self is behaving, if I can see you, and what you say. When there's incongruity, there can be confusion, and that can lead to a misinterpretation. The other thing that's important for you is your ability to see other people and interpret that nonverbal communication behavior. And that has to also do with all of those things that we don't talk about, like haptics, which is touch, kinesics, which is all of the posturing and facial features and eye movements and eye contact and those kinds of things. The chronemics, when you're doing something, the timing of it, how long, sometimes when you're trying to engage in a conversation, has an impact on somebody. And people don't think about that. So if you call somebody up in Europe, it's 2 in the morning for them, and you do that every time you have a meeting, you're waking them up at 2 in the morning, and you're up at your normal business hours, and you're not thinking of the impact that's having on them. That is having an impact. It's a nonverbal impact. Unless they tell you about it, you may not read it in their signals, or they may be trying to hide that signal, and so you don't think they're not a team player. So all of those things are things that nonverbal communication can tell you about what's going on that maybe somebody isn't actually saying to you, that helps you make a better connection, helps you to establish a better relationship with your employees. Nonverbal communication is absolutely essential for an extremely positive connection. Now, what gets in the way of that? Social media. Social media is an asynchronous way of communicating. In other words, you may put down a post, you may write a post or post a meme, a picture or something. I may see it. You may have written it or posted it 2 weeks before I see it. I may respond to it, but you may never see the response. For whatever reason, the algorithm keeps me from being in front of you with my response. So there's so many variables in there that impact that situation. Now, on top of that, when I respond back, it is asynchronous. Again, you may see it, you may not. You may see it 2 weeks after I have posted it, and I may not even, I sometimes have to go back and look at what I posted to see what the response is to. And then if I do that, I'm making an effort because I'm trained to do this in communication. I'm supposedly an expert in that area. I try to at least get back and respond to you. But you can't do that every time. That's the asynchronous means. It's delayed. You often don't see something until after it's written. Then it is in written form. I don't have your voice, your intonation, how excited you might be about this, or maybe you're not excited, you're just talking about it, or maybe you're really talking about it. So those inflections, all those things are linguistics that tell you something about how I feel about what I'm saying, and that often influences how and what you think I mean by that statement. So these are all things that we're teaching, and the way that happens is we have a class on that, and you have some information you read about, and then through the week that you're working before the class, say it's Tuesday evening at 7, you'll be working all through the week. When you come to class, you will have some exercises that I expected you to do during that class. And you have 5 other people plus myself in there. And we're going to just talk about your experiences and their experiences. And we're going to spend a couple of hours taking what we've learned from the instruction, what you experienced from your work environment, and we're going to play with it until you begin to understand it a little better. Okay? Then you're going to go leave that class, and then you're going to go practice it again. And when you come back, the following class might be on something other than, say, nonverbal communication. We're going to take just a few minutes before we leap into that class, and we're talk about how well you were able to interject nonverbal communication. What were some of the barriers? What were some of the things that were preventing you from learning it, putting it into gear, making it happen? And so what this does, it sets up an opportunity for you to practice, to play with it in a non-threatening way. So these are normally situations where you're not going to be engaged in something like a conflict situation with you and an employee or between employees or whatever. These are situations where you may go out for dinner, you may go to the mall and just sit there and watch people. You're trying to practice nonverbal communication in a way where you can begin to sort of interpret what somebody's saying, even if they're not talking to you specifically and directly. You can't hear them, for example. You're going to find that a lot of people can learn to read lips if they pay attention to your mouth when you're talking. So you could literally read lips, learn to read lips that way, and a lot of people do. So these are all things about nonverbal communication that are important for you to learn. That's something we use every day in our lives, but we just don't seem to embrace it or know enough about it to embrace it and really, really use it to highly improve our messaging to other people, or read what other people are trying to say to us accurately. But yet it is singularly the most important thing about communication that you could possibly learn. And so I want you to take this information and go practice this. Just go out and practice it a little bit. And then if you want to talk about it, you can give me a call and we'll set an appointment and talk about how you might learn more about this in the future, and how we tend to use it throughout all of the 12 classes that we're engaged in, and learning how to use leadership skills more effectively, connect with employees better, get better engagement, build trust. All of those things come out of effectively using nonverbal communication to clearly and accurately understand what the message is that people are trying to send to you. So there's an example. Go play with this. Have fun with it. Go out and watch, people in the mall, in a restaurant, in a nightclub, wherever you happen to be, even if you're going to a state fair or someplace like that. There's no place you go that you can't take a few minutes and start observing the people around you and trying to see how their nonverbal communication behaviors are there. But first, you have to learn a little bit about nonverbal communication. Now, if you can't take this course I'm teaching, the book's for sale on that website that I'll put in the link to this video. And it has all the information in it, but you just don't get the experience. So if you can't get that experience by going out and practicing and joining us in a class and really learning about it real well, you can at least understand what we're saying by nonverbal communication, and then be able to go out and practice it on your own. You will get better. It will make you a better communicator. It will make you probably as good as if you were in there with us for 12 weeks working on communication, all the aspects of communication. But nonverbal is one of those things, if you spend some time on it, you're going to really, really enjoy how much more effective you are as a communicator, and not just as a leader, in all kinds of situations, family situations, and your personal life situations, and it'll make you more comfortable in going into situations where you're in with a group, at a party, at a convention, in another training session, whatever it might be. You're going to feel much more comfortable if you have this capacity to enhance your ability to both read other people's nonverbal communications and make sure your verbal communication is congruent with your nonverbal communication, so that you can more effectively deliver a message that's easily understood, easily read by other people, and easily understood. There you go. I hope this is helpful to you. See you the next time. We're going to talk about a couple of other things here that are more practical oriented situations, with a couple of tips about how you can go play with them and practice them. I'll catch you in the next session.